Everyone who's here already. We're going to wait just maybe a minute before we get started. We'll give Ashley time to share her screen and everyone else to join. You get to see a nice zoomed in view of our faces currently.
Very close. Very
this is
close.
An up close and personal chat about
Welcome
grad
to
schools.
my pores. Here they are for you for your perusal.
Yeah.
You could probably see them. Okay. All right. Hold on. I'm working. Oh my gosh.
No worries. So while we're waiting, you're going to see everyone who's in attendance. You can see a chat feature on the right side. You are more than welcome to throw in the chat where you're currently located. That's always fun for us to see. I'm currently in Austin, Texas.
Yes, I love. Are you? I didn't know that.
Yeah, we live in Austin full time.
Oh my goodness! You know what? I don't know where I thought you were, Casey.
Yeah, I used to be a travel nurse, and so I did 2 assignments here and loved it so much I decided to settle down for good.
Austin is lit, man. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
It's a fun city for sure.
Fun.
I've heard. Wait, no, that was fun. Houston. I went to. I always forget. I've been to Houston. I've been to Dallas. I have not been to Austin yet.
Got to do Austin one time.
That's going to be on the list, honey.
It's a fun place when you come back and visit. All right, I guess we can probably go ahead and get started.
Yeah,
so, he's in Tennessee.
Yeah, I used to live in Nashville, by the way, too. Thank you, everyone, to join us tonight. We're super excited to have you here. This is a really great topic for anyone who's looking to go back to school. My name's Casey. I work on the community team at Trusted. I'm actually a nurse myself, and I was a travel nurse for Trusted as well. At Trusted, we do travel assignments for nurses across all 50 states. We have a lot of content, blogs, events. So definitely come and check us out across our social channels and more. And there's the next slide.
Oh, next slide, sorry.
No, you're fine.
I'm like, oh, that's me.
College Park, that's down the street.
Oh, yeah, okay.
That's
I used
amazing.
to live literally 1 metro stop away from College Park in high school.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yep, right up the street. Oh my goodness, good times. Wait, are you doing this part?
Yes, I am.
You're
fine. So if you have any questions, there is a Q&A section on the right-hand side in the chat. You can actually click to upvote the questions as well if you see a question that you also want answered. This is also a chance for us to listen, learn, and connect and decide which grad school type is best for you. You can go to the next slide. And here is all of the topics we're going to cover today. We're talking about on-campus programs, online programs, how to decide which one's best for you, the application process, and cost considerations. And then we'll have a nice long Q&A at the end. And without further ado, I would love to pass the torch off to our lovely host for this evening.
Hi, everyone. So Brianna is going to be first.
Hello. All right, so as the slide says, my name is Brianna. I am from a very small city, Chester, Pennsylvania. It is right between Delaware and Philadelphia. Very small. You'll pass it on the highway. So I obtained my BSN online from Western Governors University. And then I am currently in the FNP program at Walden University. I have about 18 days left, and then I get to graduate. So I'm excited about that. I've been an RN for 6 years. My experience ranges from cardiac med surg. I am trauma certified, did some trauma and ER. And then I have made my way to pediatrics. So I'm currently a pre-op PACU nurse and at Children's, and I love it there. So fun fact about me, I love to dance. I'm an avid reader. I love paperback books. No Kindle for me, no audio. I just shared with the girls, so I'll share with you guys that I actually went to modeling school when I was 5 years old. So I was trained to act and do runway and all that great jazz stuff. So that's amazing.
Yes. Oh my gosh. That is like such a cool, that should be in your 2 truths and a lie.
Yeah.
All right. And then I am Ashley Sayles. I'm a pediatric primary care nurse practitioner and also a trusted community ambassador. I'm originally from Queens, New York. I went to college the first time for a BS in sports medicine at Howard University, and then went back to nursing school as a second degree program at Johns Hopkins. And then I went back to Johns Hopkins again for my pediatric NP. I got a master's in that, so I'm team on campus. I worked as a pediatric ICU nurse for 4 years. I worked as a travel nurse for just shy of 1 year of that, and I've been a pediatric primary care NP for 3 years now. Crazy. I also am a founder of the Renegade Resume, which is a career nursing career consulting business. We do resumes, cover letters, all that good fun stuff. So if you're looking to go back to NP school, make sure you check us out. We also check out our review personal statements and things like that to make sure that your application is the bomb. And my fun fact is I tap dance. I took tap for 13 years of my life. Yeah, I took other kinds of dance as well, but tap was always my favorite. And my mom thinks it's because I like to make noise. So that is a little bit about me, and that's about us. So we'll just dive right on in. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is the on-campus programs, and that I'll cover since I went to an on-campus school. Some just brief overview of on-campus programs. So most of them offer online and in-person course options. So I myself, when I started NP school, I was actually a brand new nurse at the time. I did NP school while I was getting my footing as a new nurse. So my first year of NP school, also I should mention I did it part-time. So my first year of NP school was actually all online. My career advisor was so lovely. I told her what my goals were and what I was trying to do, and she helped me arrange my schedule to do all the courses that were available online first, so that I could be really focused on becoming a new PICU nurse, which is very, involved, and still be able to achieve my goals. Also with online or on-campus programs, they typically have like on-campus skill sessions. So one of my courses, we had to go over like suturing and other kinds like cast molding and things like that. And we got to do that on campus, hands-on. We put casts on each other, and we had like these little mannequins to practice suturing. So I really liked that. We also did some like emergency simulation type things, disaster simulations. It was actually really, really cool. That's the hands-on stuff that we got to do. And not all, but a lot of them will offer support in finding preceptors for your, mandatory precepted hours. I know for my school, I went to Johns Hopkins, as you can see, all of my preceptors were found for me. I didn't have to find them. So I just kind of filled out a form letting them know what my interests were. I was really interested in pulmonology for managing asthma in kiddos. So I got a pulmonology preceptor who's actually the attending of her department, kind of whatever they could do to enrich you and what you were really looking for, they found for me. So I really, really like that. I did say often because not all on-campus brick and mortar schools offer that. I thought they did, but I actually recently found out that that is not true. So if that's something that's important to you, put that on your list of things to ask. And then for on-campus programs, I think they're really good for people who like hands-on visual type learning. You like to be in front of your professor. All of this, I will also say, is pre-COVID. COVID has kind of changed a lot for on-campus programs. They are majority online now. But if we ever do get to a point where we're going back to school, which it looks like we are, it's really good for a hands-on visual learner, someone who likes that face-to-face contact, being able to, go up to your professor at the end of the day or the end of the class to ask questions. They have office hours in person. Also, other things like financial aid and career advising. It's nice to be able to look them in the eye, like, what's going on with my money? Because sometimes the money is funny. You gotta talk to them. And also the career advising and program advising. As I said, I had a really awesome advisor who I got to sit down with, and we went through the entire plan of study for my program and figured out what we could rearrange. So that was really nice. And someone who has a little bit more flexibility in being able to accommodate being in class at a certain time. For me, I was really young. What was I, 24, 23 when I started in NP school. And I didn't have kids. I didn't have anything else really to do but go to school and go to work. So I was able to kind of finesse my schedule to accommodate class. And it became a little more difficult once we added a clinical, but I was still able to work full-time or near full-time throughout my entire NP program, which took me 3 years to do because I did it part-time. So those are some things, just brief overview of on-campus programs and who it would probably best cater to. And then I'm going to pass on to Bree, who's going to tell us about online programs.
Hey guys, so I'm going to be covering the online portion of this presentation. So I actually did 2 programs online. So I did my BSN at Western Governors, which was online, and I also am now currently at Walden University for my FNP. So a lot of differences between like me and Ashley, and I think this is where you guys would have to really nail down what it is that you guys need from the program. And so for me, I was already working as a nurse when I started my BSN program online. I was already, and I'm also working full time while I'm at Walden as well. So for me, one of the big things was getting work-life balance or flexibility. So I don't have to be in person in class. And I know some actually on-campus schools now are doing like even you have to be on Zoom. So for me, I didn't have to be on like online in Zoom at a certain time or anything like that. My learning is basically at my pace. So as long as I'm getting my assignments in on time, and then if we have the option of doing like grand rounds and stuff like that, where the teacher presents and we watch on our own. So I thought that was really better for me because if I'm working, okay, I can work my 3 days and then I can focus the rest of my days on school. So it provided me a lot of balance and flexibility. Potential to save money. I've seen, and I don't know about all of the programs, but that online programs typically tend to be a couple $1,000s less than brick and mortars. And then, you'll have to compare the costs and everything like that. But schools can range upwards from starting at 30,000 up to 60,000, depending on where you go. Mine was actually a little bit more cheaper, so that was definitely a plus for me. More choices in location wise. So I know a lot of people just kind of feel like wherever they are, because I meet a lot of people because we have like Facebook groups and stuff like that we can talk to our classmates and they're from like all over. So I think that, when people think brick and mortar, it's like I have to go to school in that state to be able to, apply or whatever. But for online, it doesn't matter where you are. Everybody has access to that education. All you have to do is apply and get accepted to the program. So I think that gives people a little like better choices. Because for example, if I wanted to go to Johns Hopkins, but I live in Philadelphia and I need to show up for class, well, I'm gonna have to drive. And that's not, it might not be feasible for people. Some people can, but for me, I like the flexibility. And then greater potential for participation. So I was doing some research and I kind of like relate to this myself. So when I was I got my associate's degree in nursing first, and I was in school on campus. And I would literally sit in the back of the class because I was like, I don't really want to be in the front because if they call on me, then I don't want to be in the front with that. So sometimes I think we have the ability to that's taken away. So there's no classroom where I can sit in the back and kind of fall behind in the back and I want to give my greatest potential. So I think online school can do that with, different classes and stuff like that. Okay, we'll go to the next slide. So online programs are great for students who are self-starters. So, when you look at job applications and they always ask you, are you a self-starter? Can you get going without anybody telling you to? For me, I'm that person. So I think that, I don't need a lot of guidance or anything like that for for assignments and things. So I can just get on there. If I need to do my readings, I plan that out, get that done. If you're an independent person, online programs are definitely for you. If you have strong time management skills, I know anywhere you go to nursing, doesn't go to nursing school, it doesn't matter if it's online or on campus, nursing school teaches you time management because you have to balance your schoolwork, clinical, and if you're working. So online programs, you definitely have to have like time management skills on steroids because it's all you. Nobody is there telling you what to do, when this is due, or anything like that. You definitely have to stay on top of that. So if you have strong time management skills, an online program may be for you. And then having the willingness to take advantage of support services and ask questions. So we have support services, but the only person who's reached out to me is like my advisor. She reaches out to me every quarter and asks me, do I have questions? But if you need extra assistance with something, maybe financial aid, you're reaching out to them. If you have questions about career services, they're there, but you have to contact them. So if you have that willingness to ask questions and kind of go up the chain to get the information that you need, that's definitely where you want to be for online programs.
Guys, I was having trouble unmuting myself. Okay, so thank you so much for sharing that because that was actually a really good points you brought up about like location and things like that. I think that's so important. So the next thing that we're going to talk about is the application process. So let's jump right on in. It can definitely vary for different schools, regardless of whether or not it is online or on campus. It definitely varies by school. So always pay attention to what's going on the website. That's like number one. So application requirements, always check out what prerequisite courses you need. Check how recently they need to have been completed. A lot of schools will have 5 to 10 years. So if you haven't been to nursing school in a long time, nursing school was like 20 years ago, and they're talking about microbiology and things like that, you might want to check in and with admissions and see like, hey, is this going to be good? Do I need to retake it? Those types of things. Also start tracking down things like transcripts and letters of recommendation and all of that stuff. As pretty much as soon as you decide that you want to apply, because I guarantee you it's coming. So, just make sure you track that down. You don't miss deadlines. Some schools are requiring GREs now. I would say a lot of them are for graduate programs, especially the DNP programs if you're not master's prepared already. So definitely double check what your requirements are if you'll need to take the GRE. If you do, make sure you're preparing for the GRE. If it's a requirement, then of course they're going to be looking at the scores. So make sure that you're ready for that. COVID has definitely changed a lot of these requirements in terms of GREs and things like that. I don't know if a lot of you have children or children in your life, but high school students, SATs and ACTs are kind of optional right now. I work in pediatrics, so I know all the tea about the kids. But apparently, for for college applications, SAT and ACT aren't required. It's more kind of like if you did it, that's great. So see if that's something that's not required, or it's no longer on the requirement list. If you've checked them out, maybe pre-COVID, that might have changed. And one thing I like to bring out or talk about with applications is the personal statement. They are often very, very underrated. And a lot of us will be like, oh, let me just whip something together real quick. This is the easy question. And just as I said, we do resume, cover letter, and personal statement editing with my business. And we've done a ton of personal statements. And something I've realized is it's always rushed. And you never want to rush that personal statement, because that is something that that's the one view of you that they get, where they really get to hear what you have to say, what it is that you're really planning on doing with this this degree or this new credential that you're applying for. And they want to know specifics. So just saying, hey, I really want to help people and write prescriptions, that's not going to do it. It's not going to work. You know, they want to know that you're coming to their program so that you can graduate and bring their school accolades at the end. So, oh, this person did all these great things and she's a graduate of our program, or he is a graduate of our program. So when you're writing that personal statement, make sure you let your like wildest dreams be known. I'll give a good example of my personal statement for my NP program. I was pediatrics, and I knew I wanted to really work with kids who battle with asthma and things like that. It's one of those things that's really preventable and really controllable, not necessarily preventable, but controllable. And a lot of kids struggle with it. So I told them that I plan on starting this asthma camp where we would be having kids with asthma come, and we'll make sure they know about their medications, and we'll be having asthma-friendly activities like swimming and low-impact cardio and things like that, so that we wouldn't flare their asthma, but would make sure they're staying active, because a lot of asthmatics feel like they can't be active because they're afraid of triggering a flare-up. I said, I literally was living in a dreamland. And am I making that? I probably won't. I don't know, maybe. But like that, so what do we always tell our clients? And I'm giving you free tea right now. Tell them your wildest dream. Like, what is that one thing that happened during your career that was just like, oh my God, like if I was a provider, I would have done blah, 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 and tell them about that, and tell them specifically what it is that you plan on doing that is going to make you super great. So yeah, that's my one piece about the application.
Another thing too is sometimes some schools, and I know online schools kind of do this, it depends on which specialty you go into, but how long you've been a nurse. Some people do require, like if you're going into a specialty where it's critical care, some schools want you to work like a year or 2 years. So I think, again, when Ashley said, just to make sure you check on the website to look at everything before you apply, because that's really important. So definitely don't leave anything out. I don't have any great stories about personal statements because I didn't have one. So, but I had to write a personal statement for my BSN program, but not my MSN program. So, yeah.
Oh, see, even that. Look, maybe that's a perk of applying to online. You don't even gotta write anything for some of them. So yeah, that is definitely a perk. So see how things can be so different, and that's why we're here, to make sure that you guys know that you guys have options, and something, if writing isn't your jam, maybe you need to look for somewhere where you won't have to write. So these are some of the application requirements that most schools will require. So of course you have to complete the application. They're going to want your transcripts. We talked about that. Your resume or curriculum vitae. Usually they're interchangeable in nursing. You can do either one. Personal statements, references or recommendation letters, and some even require interviews. I don't know how much that has changed since COVID. I know with my program that I was in, if your application was maybe like a little questionable, like they weren't sure if you were, you're kind of on the fence, they may ask for an interview to really talk to you and see if like they think you'd be a good fit for the program. They think you could handle the rigor of the program, things like that. So just again, check what that website has to say. Check with them frequently, because things will change. You looked at it 3 weeks ago, may be different. We've also learned with COVID an instant. So this is, if there's one thing we learned stay on top of these schools, stay on top of the admissions. The admissions people should probably know you by name because you're calling them so much to ask them questions. So yeah, just make sure you keep these things in mind.
Actually, with online schools, the admission people call you, and they call you up. And I just be like,
see, there you go. Make sure your phone is on. Make sure you're answering those unknown numbers. I'm a good person to not answer unknown numbers.
All of that, because they're calling to check up on you, check up on your application, ask you questions. Do you have any questions about the application process? Do you have questions about financial aid? They are asking all of that. And I was like, oh man, they called me like 10 times, so many times.
Exactly. So, and the last thing, if I didn't say it enough, those personal statements, if it's required, please write it, because that personal statement can make or break your acceptance. I'm telling you right now. So, especially if your transcript is a little shaky, you got a couple C's on there like I did, looking a little rocky, just, make sure that you're telling them like, hey, I know my transcript looks a little crazy, but I will absolutely be a great asset to your program. And this is why. So be very audacious. Do not have any, don't hold anything back. Let them know that you are the best.
Yeah, I definitely have to subscribe to that, because I know like sometimes, when you're in class and stuff and things happen, but maybe your hands-on skills are great. You can speak to that in a personal statement. Maybe something happened and you can tell them in a personal statement how you overcame that and why you're going to be a good candidate to be a nurse practitioner, because you've been through this experience. So that is definitely a opportunity you definitely want to take to just oversell yourself, just like you would do a job, same stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if you do happen to have a school that isn't requiring a personal statement or doesn't have, that place to have that arena for you to express any explanations you may want to have, you can always write like a cover letter, or there's usually some type of additional documents upload section where you can literally write your own personal statement, even though they didn't ask for it, and just say, hey, I've been out of the nursing. If you look at my resume, I haven't been working for the past 5 years. I was raising a family. I was taking care of a loved one, whatever happened, or, my transcripts show a little bit of this, I was going through X, Y, and Z, but I've been a strong nurse since, those types of things. And I think nursing is one of those fields where that comes up a lot, where maybe transcripts may be a little rocky, but you are a phenomenal nurse. Like a lot of nurses are really great, like students, I find. Definitely not great test takers, but if you ask any of their patients if they were a good nurse, they would say they're the best, So this is definitely the field to let people know all that you have to offer.
Yeah, and the online programs definitely give you not an option, but it's required to submit your resume. And I believe a cover letter is optional, but like Ashley said, maybe that's the opportunity that you want to take to just sell yourself and tell them all about you.
Exactly.
That's it.
That's right. Okay, so let's get into it. Let's talk about money, y'all, because now you know how to apply, and now you just got in, and you're like, oh my God, I gotta pay these people. So let's talk about it. So we'll kind of break it down into like different ways that you can finance your goals. And of course, loans. We all know about them student loans. We love them. I have a hefty student loan balance, and I'm just looking at it. We're going to see who's going to pay it back. One of these repayment programs. Exactly. So just like it says here on the slide, federal loans are majority eligible for some type of government sponsored loan repayment / forgiveness / cancellation / deferment / payment plan. Like, there's some type of, way that you can get out of it. That's what I call it. So if you work for certain, work in certain areas. So if some of you are familiar with HRSA, oh my God, I think that's like health resource. I don't know what the S is, administration, or just type in HRSA on Google, you'll find it. They have a good amount of loan repayment options for you, where they'll pay off a good chunk, if not all of your loans for working in certain places. So if you're working in what they call healthcare shortage areas, or on oh my gosh, what was it, like the refugee type areas, Indian reserves, places that they have deemed in need of healthcare providers. And you can find all this information on their website. If you work in these places for a certain amount of time, sometimes the commitment is as little as 2 years. They'll pay back, 60% of your loans, which is a hefty amount of loan repayment. Also, that's a federal program. There are also state-sponsored programs. So make sure you are checking into your state to see if they have anything. A lot of, especially now, there's a lot of little grants and things for nurses during this pandemic. So just stay on top of it, and make sure you know what your options are about, loan forgiveness and loan repayment plans. And also with federal loans, you can pay based on income. So, if they're, when I graduated, they were like, yeah, so your estimated loan payment is going to be about like $4,000 a month. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, because you're getting
like, what am I supposed to eat? You can do income-based where I'm just like, hey, this is what I actually make. So can we do something a little bit closer to this? Also, I know we talk about federal loans here, but there are private loans like through your banks and things like that. A lot of them aren't eligible for these types of repayment plans. But if I remember correctly, HRSA does actually repay private loans as well, whatever loan you have, as long as you work within those critical health shortage areas. So make sure you look into all of your options. There's a lot of research to be done. But loans, probably one of the most popular options for paying for school, and, probably one of the easiest ways to get yourself financed quickly and then figuring out the payment plan after, like I did.
I put the website in the chat, but I just wanted to kind of piggyback on HRSA. Now, I don't know if you guys want to do this, but it's a good option. They're really good with doing webinars about their application process because it is so, it's not complicated, but there's a lot that goes into it. I actually still get the emails. I don't even need them, but they have webinars every quarter when they open up their application process to walk you through how to get through that, what kinds of time you would have to get back, what places you would have to work at, and then Q&A if you have any questions. I don't know if other like repayment loan stuff, they do that. And then for federal loans, if you're a service worker, now I don't know how great this option is, but I was actually reading about it. And you have to pay your loans on time for a certain amount of time, and then they will forgive the rest. So I guess you could look into that. I looked into it, but it's just like, can we just forgive them all? And then we don't have to talk about this anymore because I'm a public service worker and I put my life on the line every day. So, but you can look that up and get the specifics on that. But I just wanted to give those little tidbits because there are repayment programs for service workers. And Sam said there's also a military route. Uncle Sam paid for you. That's right. Mm-hmm.
So those are options that I didn't even think about because I myself am not military, but if you are military, please check out what your benefits are because my older sister is military and she got nursing school completely paid for by the military. So definitely check that out. And you brought up a really good point, Brianna, about the public service loan forgiveness program. Again, make sure you're reading the fine print because not every job qualifies for that, even though you're working as a nurse. So if you are given Botox as a nurse, not to say that that's not important because it definitely is, it won't count. So it definitely not just working in the field, but working like the way they want you in that field. So do your research, guys, for sure.
Yeah. So, oh, you are mute.
I'm so sorry. So yes, the next thing is grants and scholarships. That's our favorite because that's free monies. So yeah, do you want to go ahead?
Well, I'll just say for if you're thinking about online school, I'll give you a tidbit is they don't offer a lot of scholarships. Now, that is my school. I don't know if any other online school offers scholarships, but I was very surprised when I applied and got accepted, and I seen some scholarship, and it was like, oh, if you're getting a master's degree, you could get $10,000. And I was like, oh yeah. So I'm talking to my advisor and I'm asking her about the scholarship, and she was like, oh, that don't apply to y'all. And I was like, oh, so I can't get no money. That's what she's trying to tell me. So online schools do not, but I know that a lot of on-campus schools do offer scholarships, and Ashley can definitely speak to that. There are scholarships everywhere. So much free money here, list and list that people don't even apply to. And some, just like they used to tell you in college, oh, if you're left-handed, you can get a scholarship. This is literally the money that people leave on the table. Or if you have a certain heritage, stuff like that. Those things still apply in grad school. So I know that it may be tedious going through these things, and maybe you're tired of writing these essays, but if you don't have the money, but you really want to go to school and it's something that you're passionate about, definitely set aside the time to look through those scholarship options. But I'll let Ashley take over because I think she has a little bit more experience in scholarships in school. I do not.
So I would say right now, one thing I didn't get was a scholarship. Yes, there were definitely a lot of scholarship opportunities, I will say. When I was in school, they definitely have like criteria based. So, if you're a first generation, like college, student, or, you'd be the first in your family graduating from college, things like that. I found that there were a lot more scholarship opportunities for bachelors than when you get to grad school. I think there's this idea that when you're in grad school, you have money, which is like what I have gone back to grad school. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, there's this idea or like weird vibe that, oh yeah, they're good, they can pay for it and we can't. But there are tons of scholarships still out there. Make sure you guys are looking at like healthcare product companies. I know, for example, Johnson & Johnson has nurses scholarships. So make sure you check out those websites, check out your nursing professional organization websites like your ANA, your ANP, things like that. See if there's anything you can offer, you can apply for. As Brianna said, they can definitely be tedious. I was just like, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna take out loans. I didn't have the time. I just didn't have the time or bandwidth to look. But if money is your limiting factor, there's money out there. It's just a matter of you
applying for it and
applying and doing whatever their requirements are and making sure you meet those requirements. Another thing that I really want to talk about is the employer benefits, because honey, this is one of the most controversial things. So employer benefits is if you are working as an RN within some hospital system, a lot of them offer some type of going back to school perk where we'll pay up to this amount, or we'll pay for, this many semesters and things like that. Please, like the money gun says, please
read the
fine print, because there is usually some kind of years of service requirement after the fact. I know for my program, where I was working, they required 2 years of service full-time, after starting from the last day of the semester that they paid for. So if your semester ends May 15th, 2021, they will expect for you to be working for them full-time until May, what did I say first? Or whatever I said, of 2023. So make sure that you know what that means. Sometime read the fine print as far as like payback, like say for instance you decide not to stay there, what does that mean? Will I owe you money back? Will I be sent to collections? Those types of things. So really make sure you read what's going on. And when you're taking those benefits, as much as great as they sound, especially when you're in a pinch, if you're thinking about, if you're going back to school to become a nurse practitioner or some type of advanced provider, what is your option if they don't offer or there are no open positions in that field once you graduate, right? So say you take, 2 years worth of money from them. And so, which means, by the end of that 2 years, you'll have an additional 2 years to give back to this hospital. What if they don't have a nurse practitioner position available for you? What are your options? Is there some type of clause for if there's no position available? Are you going to be expected to work as an RN for an additional 2 years? Are you just waiting? So those are the types of things you need to think about. Yeah. Because you're still going to owe them that money. So just make sure you're regularly checking, like, do they have NP positions open regularly? Like, do they have an NP position somewhere I'd work, or I'd be eligible to work? Nurse practitioners are very, sectioned off in terms of specialty. So, if they only have acute care positions open, but you're a primary care, what are your options? Those types of things. So,
and I'll
please
do you one better, because reimbursement program sounds like heaven. I don't think that would be an issue, but my employer, they would like, and they bump it up. So if you're just getting a bachelor's, it's a little less, right? But because you're getting a master's degree, they want to bump up the certs a little bit more. So they'll say, oh, we paid for this semester, we want 1 year for that semester we got. So imagine you having 4. Now I have to give you 4 years back. I think that is unreasonable. So I think that's unreasonable. They also
just pearls.
Yes. Also, they can pick and choose what classes they pay for. So be very aware of that, because we have a whole system where you get online and you put your classes in, and they'll say, we don't want to pay for that, but we can pay for this one. So you will also always need a backup plan if tuition reimbursement from your job may not pay for everything. They might pay for however much percentage. And so, but a caveat, and somebody told me this, and it made a lot of sense to me. If you take the tuition reimbursement, but you decide, I'm going to do so because I don't want to do this, figure out how they require you to pay it back, because maybe you don't have the loan with interest, but you just pay your job back. And you just pay them back what you took, instead of having extra interest of however many percentage on top of it. And now you're paying $4,000, like Ashley said, which is
right. So. That fine print, you need to read that more than the big print, okay? Because the big print is not telling you everything you need to know. But yes, I've heard quite a few horror stories from friends who were trying to buy a house and found out that their hospital sent them to collection years ago and never notified them. It gets crazy. So that fine print is very important. And then another way, paying out of pocket. Paying as you go. There are most schools will offer some type of payment plan or something like that. I have a good friend of mine who was actually in my program with me, and she paid per semester on her credit card, and got a whole bunch of like points and things back, and got cash back and stuff. So she ended up saving a lot of money on the tuition. Think though that's a way, make sure you talk to financial aid and student accounts and things like that to see what their options are in terms of payment. Can you do monthly payments, something like that? Are you going to be working while you're in school and be able to fund this, those types of things. Creating a financial roadmap is huge. Once you know what your tuition and everything's going to be, figuring out what that looks like for you. Most of us going back to NP school are, full-blown adults. We have bills, we're not living with our parents, things like that. So it's like, okay, how am I paying my mortgage and my tuition, those types of things. So make sure you don't sign up for something that is not feasible for you. Make sure you think about this financially.
I think also too, like if people have families and husbands, sometimes, the partner takes on the responsibility for like maybe paying for school or maybe paying for the bills or paying ahead. So I think that, when you're considering school, you're thinking, okay, I'm just going to pay all this off. So if I'm going to pay off a couple of car notes, pay off a couple of this, so I can have free money to pay for the program. And like Ashley said, a financial roadmap to just definitely break it down. And hey, if this doesn't happen and I didn't do this, okay, what's my next step? Definitely.
Right. Absolutely. I'm telling you, it all of these options. And also I want to say that all of these options are not, lone wolves. They can all be used. So if you find a scholarship that covers 15%, then you find a loan and you're like, I don't want to take everything. Let me take out like 50%. Then you want to do the last, 15 and 50, 35% out of pocket. You can mix and match, choose your own adventure, how you're paying for school. Yeah, please make sure you figure out that financial roadmap and whatever works for you. So that you're not kind of in a pinch either while you're in the middle of the program or, having to step out because you can't afford it, those types of things. That's what you'd hate once you're like in the thick of it. So make sure you think about what that plan is. And also college tuition rates usually increase by somewhere about like 2 to 10% every year. So keep that in mind when trying to project, budget finances for the next couple years of your career or of your education, because tuition that you start off with is very rarely the tuition that you end up with. Okay. So ultimately, how do you decide? Kind of to recap everything that we kind of chat about. What kind of learner are you? Are you hands-on? Are you a type of person that likes to do things in the middle of the night and need to be able to do that? Do you need face-to-face contact? Are you cool with independent study? What resources are important for you to succeed? So again, like, do you need that type of like simulation in person? Do you need those hands-on skills labs? Do you need someone finding your preceptors for you? Do you like to have autonomy in that? And like, I know exactly who I want to precept me. I don't want anybody telling me what to do, those types of things. What is your budget and comfort with loans? That's really going to help you determine schools. Like Brianna said, I find that online schools are typically a lot more affordable than your brick and mortar schools or your on-campus schools. So, think about that, because that might be a really big deciding factor for you. And what kind of program best fits your life and schedule. If you're planning on working full time, you're a day shifter. I was a night shifter, so it worked fine for me because I just take a nap and go to class. But like, if you're a day shifter and you're like, I absolutely cannot work at night, maybe on campus is not going to be the best option for you, because that's when school is also. So, making sure you're honest with yourself and, not being like, oh, I can do that, when it's just like, can you really, to figure out what works best.
And then you can just ask yourself, what support do I have in my life to just do this? I think people go into school or further in their degree, like, I have to do this on my own. That's definitely not the case. You may have friends, you may have family that want to support you through this journey, and your job may. I'm very blessed I didn't really tell people about school when I first started at work for multiple reasons. But when I did, if I need my work schedule moved around for whatever reason, because I needed clinical or something, or I need to switch with somebody, they were more inclined to work with me because they knew what I was trying to do. So definitely, maybe before you start school, you can talk to your manager and say, hey, I'm thinking about this. What are my options? Can we work schedule or whatever the case may be? So definitely ask yourself that question as far as work, what you need. If night shift works for you, if day shift works for you, how can you manage doing day shift and then maybe having to go to class or maybe have to go to clinical, because you definitely have to do that. So those are ways as well.
Yes. And one thing I just want to make sure before we jump into questions that I bring up. So honestly, one of the inspirations for this this whole event was a Clubhouse chat that Brianna and I had, kind of talking about, online versus on campus. And it got pretty heated during that chat. And there were a lot of opinions of other people who joined us that, about the quality of education that you get from one versus the other. And, the type of provider that leaves each program, online and on campus. And one thing I'll say is COVID has definitely knocked a lot out the window because pretty much every program is online right now. Let's start there. Secondly, I want to make sure that people realize, if you thinking about going back to NP school and, you hear words of like, I hear those online programs aren't great, or I hear this school isn't great and that school isn't great. One, do your research, right? You figure out, what their graduation rate is, pass rate of, board exams is, see if you can find people who have attended the school, things like that, and ask questions. And two, it's all about what you put in.
Yeah.
So whatever type of student you are, if you're a hard worker, if you are going to take advantage of every opportunity that's available to you, and, make sure that you put your best foot forward no matter what, you will be successful no matter what type of school you go to. So just make sure that, you're aware of that, and don't let kind of opinions, because we know nursing is a very opinionated field. Don't let opinions kind of drive you too much, because if you let everyone run your life, then you're living everyone else's lives and not yours. Yeah. And you know what you need. Brianna's an online student who was my student, and Brianna was a very strong student to have in my office. I trusted her to go in, with my patients. She did all of my assessments, things like that, and she's strong. And I didn't look at, she went to online school, whatever the case. That doesn't have anything to do with it. It's all about your drive and your motivation. So don't let that hinder you.
Yeah. It doesn't matter where you go. It's what you make of your journey. That is really it. If you want to be the best provider that you can be, then you have to take every opportunity to do just that.
Absolutely.
Ashley said, and I love her for this because she's a great, great teacher. But she allowed me to thrive because I thrive in a hands-on environment. That's how I learn. I learn hands-on and then, doing different things. So once I get hands-on and I ask questions, and if I don't know something, I speak up. Those have always been my things, and those are my values that have followed me through nursing. So don't forget those things that made you everything that made you a great nurse. It'll make you a great provider. So just keep those things with you, quiet the noise around you, and whatever school you choose works for you. At the end of the day, the end result is you'll be a provider.
Absolutely. That's 100%. 100% right. So without further ado, does anyone have any questions? I hope we didn't answer any of them. I don't see any questions. I'm so sad. No one has any questions for us. Hi, Casey.
Hi, team. I'm back to be your Vanna White over here. So everyone, there is a question tab in the chat. If you just go up to the top, it's in the middle. So if you have any questions, feel free to throw them in there. Y'all, that was great. That was so fantastic. It was so real and honest. And I feel like I got the, like the older sister vibes. Like you gave me the real lowdown on what to expect. And I really appreciate that. As I have my bachelor's, but I thought about going back to school so many times, and I really feel like that really helped me quite a bit. Yeah, was fabulous as well.
Nursing is really, really it's needed. Just at a time where we are just pandemic, everything like that, and a lot of people are putting their dreams on hold for whatever reason. Maybe information. All these people doing all these great things, and maybe you want to ask a question, and maybe you don't think they'll answer the question or give you the information. So I think platforms like Trusted is just an amazing way to do that. And I hope you guys put questions in here because we're ready to.
Yes.
I have a question actually for you both because being in the program, Brianna, and then Ashley, like obviously you're an NP. What do you think about people saying who the market's oversaturated with NPs? What are your thoughts about that?
So what I will say about this is I think people forget the art of networking. Okay. It is very, very up there. And me actually had this conversation, and she has the amazing character of just looking at things from a different eye. And I never even thought about this until she brought it up. But online programs, a lot of people shy away from them because they don't go look for your preceptors for you or whatever the case may be. We have to get on foot and get them ourselves. But one thing that she said is that, like, oh, my school kind of, not handicapped per se, but like I got what I needed because I told them. But you guys have the ability to build a skill to go into an office and present yourself and say, hey, this is my resume, and I want to work with you. Because most times when you do that, somebody is there, wants to talk to you, and you're on the spot with questions, just like you would be with an interview. And then you build a bond with them. Like my preceptor now is like, oh, I'm gonna retire in 2 years. You want to buy my practice? I'm like, well, what's happening here? But you trust me with the 3,000 patient list of people. And I've done that because of clinical, the bonds that I built. So networking is great. Also, it depends on where you are. And I think that people really need to look at per state what the statistics are for getting jobs and all that stuff like that. It's jobs everywhere. And somebody just emailed me, and I'm not a nurse practitioner yet. I'm like, you want to come work for us? I said, well, just wait a minute now.
Can I get licensed? Yes. Absolutely, it's so true. Networking is so huge. Oh wait, oh my God, so many questions. Oh my Lord,
we have a lot of questions. No,
yes,
they're coming in.
We asking, you shall receive.
Absolutely. Yes, and I know we only have a few minutes left, so we'll try to get through these pretty quickly. Tia asked, do you think I can go back to school while working as a travel nurse, or should I work part-time? That's a great question.
Go ahead, Brittany. I was gonna say my best friend's name is Brittany. Go ahead.
Master's program, you have and this is one thing I always tell people I regret not doing. When you are doing your classes and not in the clinical portion of your program, you can definitely travel nurse because you can do class from anywhere. If you're online now, I don't know if you're doing a brick and mortar, that's different. But from an online standpoint, you can be anywhere and do class. It doesn't matter. I was on vacation in Bali and I was doing class, okay? So you can definitely travel nurse while you're in school until you get to the point where you're going to do clinical. And the reason why is because wherever you live at or wherever you're licensed at is where you have to do clinical. So I don't know sometimes they have different ways of doing that stuff for the schools and what they require. But I would say do it up until you go to clinical.
Yeah. In person, that wasn't really an option at all.
Yeah, I've actually had a lot of friends who are in their first year of CRNA school or NP school right now who are online, or they're just online because it's COVID and they have been doing travel nursing. So I think it is possible, but I think it depends. I think that would be something I'd check in with your program and see if they recommend it or not too.
And again, I should say I was pre-COVID in person. So there was no like, oh, we're going to go online. So yeah.
Absolutely. This is one I definitely want to get to. Saba asked, I came in a little late, so sorry if I missed, but how long did y'all work on the floor as an RN before going back to school? As a Black nurse, I'm also a little hesitant about going back to school. Did you feel supported? Was there any diversity in your program, especially Ashley, since you were in person?
Oh my God, good question. So I am a very, very unique person where I actually started my NP program before I actually started working as a nurse. So my school offered, at the time, they don't offer it anymore, but it was kind of like a bridge program from their accelerated BSN to their MSN specialty NP programs. So I was in that. So I graduated December from my BSN, and then that January I started my NP program, and I actually didn't start working as a nurse until that May. So I didn't work as a floor RN before, but by the time I graduated, I had 3 years of solid nursing experience. So I like to condense. So that's what I did. One thing I'll say, my school, I felt super supported. It was actually pretty diverse. My program was a pediatric NP program, so it's kind of small. It's a very niche area, and there was 13 people in my program that graduated with me. And of the 13 of us, there were 4 Black women, which is a pretty like alarming statistic. So it was very diverse. People were very, very supportive. They had a lot of culturally diverse programs and things for us to be a part of, different organizations and like clubs and things. So I felt I loved it. I loved it. But that's something I would ask and inquire about, like, hey, what kind of like, diversity and inclusion efforts do you guys make? Because you're applying to the school, but also the school needs you too. So you should make sure that they're providing you with all you need.
Yeah, I think I was a nurse for BSN, I was a nurse for like a year or something. But for my master's, I think I was like 3.5 years, something like that, 3.5 years. Something like that. But yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Perfect. Well, I know we're already actually over. So, and for you, for those who I didn't get to your questions, what I'd like to say is that these ladies both put out a lot of really, really great resources on their social channels, and I'm sure they'd love for you to reach out to them directly and answer any questions. Do you want to tell them really quickly how they can find y'all?
Absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram is my #1 place. I really am not anywhere else. Ashley the NP is me. So shoot me a DM if we didn't get to your question. I know Ray had a question that I feel like I could answer. So please shoot me a DM, Ashley the NP, ASHLEY, as you can see.
I'm also on Instagram mostly as well. I'll be changing my name soon, but right now, it is at @UWB _, because I love Beyonce so much. So you can send me a message because there is somebody directed 2 questions to me, and I definitely want to answer them for you guys. I was like, ooh, we can go over. And I was like, oh no, maybe not, because I'm not.
I know. I'm sorry, team.
I know. Sorry, guys.
I put down their handles in the chat so you can follow up with them directly. But both of you, this was really fantastic. I sincerely mean that. You both did great. This was just such a real conversation, like I said before. So we appreciate you both. To everyone who came, we also appreciate you coming, and we appreciate everything you're doing right now. We will be sending out a follow-up survey for you to complete. If you'll please complete that and let us know what you liked, didn't like, what we can do better. We definitely take all that feedback into careful consideration for our future events. So
maybe we can do a part 2.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe we can do an Instagram live or something to follow up for all these questions.
Yeah,
yes.
But thank you both, and we're going to go ahead and end for tonight, but we'll hopefully see you all at our next event, and hopefully there'll be another event with Ashley and Brianna coming up soon.
Yay.
Yes.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Can't wait.
Bye, team.
Guys.